Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Infinity Client Success webinar today on the 14th of January, 2022. Today's subject is the introduction of the new user management interface. So we're very excited to bring this to you today. While folks are logging in, did want to do just some introductions because I know not everyone has the opportunity to sit in on all the various webinars that we do. My name is Craig Hart, and I am part of our events team here at Vertical Alliance Group, and my background is in distance learning, in remote learning. I've been doing that since 2004. And joining me today is one of the senior members of our client success team, Miss Charity Richie. And Charity is our subject matter expert on all things related to the new user management, and she is going to be leading us through a walkthrough of that functionality today. And Charity, good morning to you. Happy Friday. It's great to see you.
Oh, good morning, guys. I'm so excited to see everybody and to show you everything. You're going to love it.
Excellent. Now, some of you are probably confused. Charity and I actually office in different locations. So I'm in Dallas while she is in our Texarkana home office. So we don't get to see each other very often. So this is exciting for both of us. Now, for those of you who are joining us on our webinars for the first time, these are interactive events. We want to make sure that we answer any questions that you have that may come up as you see things that we show you. There's a lot with this new user management system to be excited about, but you may have questions because things are a little bit different with your organization and so forth, and we want to make sure that we answer as many of your questions as we can, because sometimes the question that you have is the same as somebody else has. They just don't remember that they need to ask it. The easiest way to get us questions is through the chat function. So on your action bar at the top of the screen, there is a chat button. Go ahead and click that open. And then at the bottom of your chat button, there is a little thing that says hosts and panelists. If you click on that and you change that to everyone, then everybody on chat can see the comments that you make, not just myself or Charity. So go ahead and fire that up, everybody, and just to let us know that you're good to go. Let us know who you are, where you're from. We'd love to see who's on the call with us this morning, as we know there's quite a few of you. Excellent. All right. Charity, we're ready to get underway?
We are. I'm ready if you are.
Okay. All right, so the new user management improvements, and we're going to go through these through a live web version of the platform. These go live officially on January 18th. Now, the way that we roll out technology, we don't just flip a switch, turn it on for everyone, and wish you all the best of luck. We have been progressively moving our clients over to this system since the end of last year. So some of you may already be able to see the functionality that we are going through today. Some of you will have it by the 18th, this coming week. So if it's not there, it will be there very, very soon. We promise you, everyone is going to have access to the functionality that we are looking at today. So let me go ahead and give you the power. Come on, there we go. My mouse is misbehaving. All right. Charity, you have the comm.
All right, I'll take it then. So for this morning, we're going to give you a great demo. We're going to show you the basics of user management. The whole idea is to replace the users tab that you're accustomed to on the 18th if you're not one of our preview clients. Now, we are replacing that original tab. However, we're going to maintain all of the features that you're used to, adding a user, updating license information or adding groups to someone, adjusting those small details. But we've added a lot of nuts and bolts that a lot of people have asked for, those extra features. Anytime that you need to go in and inactivate multiple users, that's going to be one feature that we look at. We're also going to look at managing assignments, viewing classrooms, downloading multiple reports at once. I know you guys have been begging for that. That's
what?
Oh, 5 stars. You're going to love it. So there's a lot of things that we're going to cover, but we're going to take it section by section. Again, this session is recorded. So if you miss something or if you're trying to take notes, make sure that you're focusing on the screen and just kind of soaking it all up. You can always ask your CSR or one of us questions afterwards, okay?
We are also recording this session today too, and we'll make it available to everyone who is attending so that you can rewatch it also. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can share your screen, Charity.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to start screen sharing here. All right. Make sure I've got everything else closed just to be safe. All right, I have logged in on an administrator account. Now, this is something that you guys are going to see if you're not a preview client on the 18th of this month, so next Tuesday. If you are a preview client, you've had the opportunity to view our user management tab here. And again, on the 18th, that's going to replace this one that you're used to. But look at the layout. It looks very, very similar to what you're accustomed to. You're going to see the username field, first and last name field, status of the user, their role. You're going to see the view and edit buttons. You're used to those. You're going to notice some great new drop-down options though. So right away, I want to show you how to add in a user just for practice and kind of talk you through what's the same and what's different. So before, on our users tab, we had add user up here. On the user management tab, our add user button is over here on the right. So you'll just slide over there and hit add user. And you're going to see some very familiar fields. Our required fields for adding a user are our first name, last name, username, and password fields. Everything else is optional. So let's fill that out. Oh, let's see. Fill in a first name and a last name, just something basic. So Mr. Howard Smith is going to be joining our team.
I see that it pre-filled the display name now. It used to be we had to enter that manually, and now it's doing that automatically.
You're right. That's right underneath the last name box.
Awesome.
For our username, we're going to put in H. Smith. That's our format that we've chosen for this demo. The first initial of the first name and the full last name. We're also going to put in a little pretend password. Note that the password, as before in the user edition section, you can't see. That's a security feature. If you do want to see it while you're filling it out, just click this little show password button right there. So our required fields are filled out just like we had in the old users tab for first name, last name, username, and password. Now I'm going to enter an email address for this guy, and it's going to be pretend here. Right away, you notice that whenever you enter the email address, his notification preference is going to default to email. If you add in a mobile number, as well as the email address for his contact information, his notifications are going to default to text, just like before. And just like before, if you want him to get emails instead, just click that little bubble there. One of our other optional fields is our hire date field. You saw that on the users tab before as well. If you want to, you can track that information. We're going to pretend for today that he's being hired this afternoon. And we can fill in the date of birth as well. It's another optional field that we have.
I like these because this is a nice, or can function as sort of an employee management system in addition to being a learning management system for some of you. I know some of you don't have a separate employee management system, and these were asked for features from folks who wanted to be able to store some additional information in the system that they felt was valuable.
Definitely. Right away, we're going to automatically see that his status is going to be active since we're adding him in as a new user, and his role is going to default to student. We've retitled that small section. Note the little information bubbles here. That's going to mean that he's a user. So before we called that a user, now we're going to call that a student since he's going to be getting in that classroom and taking courses. You also have the option to make him an administrator, a group administrator, or reports administrator if you choose. But for today, we're going to stick with student. Do we have any questions about that section so far?
Oh, we've got questions. Yes, we do.
Okay.
What is the case sensitivity rules on the password?
Oh,
Has
that's
that changed?
great. That has not changed. Passwords are always going to be case sensitive. So if you entered, for example, a capital D in demo, he would need to make sure that he capitalizes that D in demo whenever he tries to log in. Make sense?
Excellent. So passwords don't need to be in all caps. They can be in whatever case you would like them to be. I would just recommend that whatever formatting you're using out there, make it consistent amongst your users so that you don't confuse yourself and them. And then, all right here, questions about the text and email notification preferences. Is that still either or can they get both?
It is still either or.
Okay, so it can either be email, it can either be text, or it can also be turned off completely. And then in that case, you've got to manually let someone know, hey, you've got some training to do. however you like to do that. But I mean, the reason there, guys, is we're trying not to spam your folks. We're trying to reach them in the method that they're comfortable receiving information. A lot of your drivers are really liking text notifications. It's
Yes.
something like 60% of all adults between 18 and 54 prefer text versus email now. So if that's not something that you've done before, and you are having some challenges of people getting your notifications, and you have those cell phone numbers, that might be an option to try out.
Definitely. Any other questions?
So far, so good.
Okay. Right here, we're going to hit save. Before, you saw a blue next button on the add user section. So here we're going to hit save. And I'm going to return to list here.
Okay.
Now, if it doesn't end up saving on you, if you were editing something and the little save function that I hit didn't go through, just like it did, it's going to pop up. And here, it's going to ask us to save and continue. I'm going to refresh my screen quickly here. And I'm going to go back to the user management tab. I'm going to look back up that user. Actually, this is great because this shows you how to look back up someone after you've created them. So I'm going to look up Mr. Howard Smith. On the right, that search box is still in the same place that you're accustomed to. Oh, it didn't make him.
Oh no.
Oh no, let's try again quickly. All right, let's do, let's see, Paul Smith. And we'll breeze through this. Again, as you're getting used to this new tab, the functions are going to work the same. So if you have a snafu, just go back to square one and start again, and you'll find it's very, very easy. For this one, we're going to fill out the mobile number and email address again, hire date, and date of birth. Let's see. And we'll hit save. There we are. Okay, it behaved this time. See that little green pop-up that says added user? That's the same little pop-up you'll get as soon as your user is added. If you don't get that, do just what I did. Hit Control F5 to refresh your screen, or use your little refresh button up here, and we'll work through those items together. Bear in mind that we are about to launch this. So after this demo, I'm going to report any little snags that I see to IT and make sure that they work on those for you, okay? All right, let's talk about groups for Mr. Paul Smith. So before, adding a user to a group was in step 2 of creating a user. You had a little drop down and you could choose different groups that were created, one or multiple, that was up to you. Here you have the same options. All these groups have been created in this website. We've got company drivers, we've got human resources, marketing, and so on. You're going to love this. I'm going to add Paul Smith to company drivers, and I'm just going to click on this little bar here with the title. And in the center, you're going to have some little toggle options that's going to bump this over to the right side of the screen. So let's click that there. He's been added to company drivers. If you want to add him, yes, if you want to add him to multiple, let's say, oh, I don't know, Birmingham terminal here. Click that right arrow, and you'll see that he's now in multiple groups. Now, I want to show you one more thing. If we accidentally add him to executive management, we realize we don't need that. Just click on the group you don't need and move it back over. How cool is that?
I love that. And this means now I can change that whenever I need to, and I don't have to live with that forever. I can change it as the needs of my business change, and I can assign training out by one or the other or both of those groups. I can have 5 groups on there and assign training out for all of them if I want to. So
yes, and I'll talk more about groups as we move through the next sections. There's some other great options for managing those groups. For now, before we take questions, I want to show you one quick thing about the group section. It's very straightforward. But say you needed to work through your list of users and change a few individuals' group memberships, just spot checking things. Do you see these buttons for previous user and next user? Remember how in our old user tab, you used to have to go back to the user list and start fresh and look up their name and then open that one and then start editing? We found that tedious, right? Here we've got previous user and next user. So we'll talk more about this later on, but for right now, I'm going to go to next user here. And let's look at Mr. Walter here. I'm going to add him to driver trainers.
Actually, could you show everyone how they can add more than one group at a time?
Yes.
We had a question come in about that, so I thought that might be handy.
Oh, let me talk through that one. So whenever you need to add someone to more than one group at a time, let's move that back off. You can hold down the control key on your keyboard, or you can click on multiple ones at a time to highlight them. Company drivers and drive away, and we'll put him in Birmingham as well, for example. So if you see them in light blue, forgive me, I'm colorblind. If this is gray to you, let me know. I think it's light blue.
It looks blue.
We'll highlight all three and hit our little toggle switch in the center, and he'll be added to all three.
Awesome. And there's no restriction on the number of those groups I can do that with, right? I can do that with however, I mean, obviously, everybody with the groups, it needs to make sense to your organization, and you
Yes.
would hopefully not have 300 groups that a driver would need to be a part of. But if you had, hazmat drivers that you wanted to do something, or a specific kind of freight or job function, I mean, those are all things that could be tagged to an individual student. So
Definitely. Do we have any questions about the new group tab?
that was the only one I had, was about adding multiple. So I've had some questions about the previous page that we can run through real quick here.
Sure.
Can we change email notifications to text notifications?
Yes, you can. So if I have an email address entered for someone, and I know I keep using the same pretend one, there's a reason for that. If you have a user set up with email notifications and you need to go in and edit their account and update that to text message notifications, that was the question, yes?
Mhm.
If we're on their account, all we have to do is enter that mobile number, and automatically the notifications are going to default to text. If you, for any reason, want to just clear out that email address, you're also welcome to do so.
Absolutely. So you can see as soon as you update for text, the system is intelligent. It lets you know your options. Hey, you can even reset that password if you need to, and send that out by text. So as soon as that text number is there, it will give you the option to tweak it. So awesome. Can we add our own groups? Yes, you can. I don't know
Yes.
if we'll talk about that a little bit, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of separate from the user management, but is
Yes.
tied to it. So I know it's not super hard to show, though.
Okay. Yes, you can always make your own group from the Groups tab. For today, we're going to focus on adding a user or removing a user from existing groups. But if you have questions about adding groups, we can cover that at the end, or contact your CSR or the CSR help distribution list for a couple of explanations on that.
Heather, I saw your question there. Do you have to click on that reset by text? That's only if you were trying to reset the password for that individual. Once you put in and say that you want the notifications for text and save that, that is all you have to do. You do not have to click that reset by text button unless that person is having an issue with their password.
Definitely. Are we ready to take a look at assignments?
Sure. And then just one quick question. What's happening with this new version of the user management? Those of you who have already established groups and users, we're moving all that data over into this new format. So you are not going to have to reset the groups and connections to users that you have already made. This is just a way to allow you to manipulate that now in a much more convenient manner than you had before, where you had to toggle back and forth between different sections. Now you can stay in the same section and get that stuff done. So you will not have to reset all your groups.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. We're just helping organize things a little bit better for you so that it flows smoothly. Speaking of which, I would like to demonstrate a couple of things, how the group drop-down works, how roles are able to be sorted in here, how you can sort by status. And as we do those things, we're going to look at a few users, and then we'll look at their open assignments in their classrooms. I feel like that's a really natural progression. Do you agree, Craig?
Absolutely.
All right. So in our old version of some of the tabs, we've had a lot of requests for the ability to see all of the members of a group at once and move between different groups. Guess what we've added? Under this group drop down here on the left, you can select any group that's active in your site. Again, that ties back to your, how do I create a group? Do I need a different one? If a group is already created, you can pull up this list with this drop down, and I can sort for all company drivers and hit apply. And it's going to show me everybody in the company drivers group right away. If you wanted to further sort this, you could click on the roles drop down and choose everyone that was just a student if you didn't need to include administrators, and hit apply. Now you've got just your students in this group. If you needed to see all of the active members of the group, those are going to naturally stay visible on this page. Now, if you need to see all the inactive and active users in this group, just click your status drop down and click inactive and hit apply. I know I'm moving quickly, but we'll talk through this. And as you start using this tab, you're going to start having more questions, and you'll kind of naturally learn how to do it yourself as well. So
The
again,
status one is actually my favorite one, because it used to be you would have to move back and forth between separate pages for active and inactive. And now you don't gotta. Now you can just tweak that
correct.
one field, and it will switch you from active, inactive, or crazy talk, both at the same time if you need to. So
Definitely. So far we've sorted for groups, and we're looking at company drivers.
and you can sort for multiple groups at one time, right?
You can.
Awesome.
So let's add in, I'm going to pick on Birmingham again since I keep using that one today.
They are lovely people in Birmingham.
And we'll hit apply here. So we've hit groups, made sure company drivers was still selected, and chosen drivers Birmingham terminal as well. And we're going to hit apply to update that. We'll see that reflect.
Awesome.
Under roles, we still have this sorted for students. So notice that as we make changes to this tab on our filtering, the changes for the other drop downs and filters that we've chosen are going to remain in place. So we still got our student option here. And our status is both active and inactive so far. I'm going to make sure that this shows only active.
Okay.
And next, what I want to do is kind of open up a couple of familiar items. We're always going to have our classroom eyeball off here to the left, where you as an administrator can click on that little view option and view a user's classroom or their resources, kind of check their progress. We've kind of kept that there so that we can maintain some familiarity if you're not quite ready to use some of the newer stages. We want to kind of tiptoe you into it.
Looks like you've clicked on Jeff Hood, and that little sub menu is now on the left side of the screen for Jeff. So that's existing. That's something that's not new. That's something we've carried over from the previous version, and allows you to look at what they have.
Yes.
So, okay.
If you need to, you can export this to a PDF to see who's listed underneath that selection that you've sorted down. You can open this up in Excel if you need to pull a list of all your group members. How cool is that?
Nice.
And you can also choose to print this. I know a lot of people have been asking for some updated printing options, and this is one of them that we've added. So as long as you know which group you're printing, you are good to go.
I like it.
I do too. All right, let's talk about some of the more nuts and bolts things. I want to go in and I want to view each of these users, and I'm not going to have to move around and do that. I'm going to be able to do that from one spot. I'll show you. If we slide to the right-hand side of the screen, we can click the little view eyeball next to any of these accounts. I'm going to pick on Mr. Frank Smith for today, and we're going to be able to view his account. So right away, we have the option to see all of the items that we filled out for his account this morning, except for the password, which we're never going to be able to see unless we're in an edit mode. You have the option to edit any of his account details from here if you need to, and save any updated changes. So again, we'll hit edit. That question that we had earlier, how do I update someone's notifications from email to text? Let's try that. Right away, you'll see that his notifications changed to text instead of email, and just hit save. Does that help kind of visualize that explanation a little bit better?
Also, I'd want to point out that since we're looking at the people we filtered down, you know, when we started this, the first time we looked at Walter and our new person, we had many more people than 7 to look at. But now that we've sorted them down, we're just looking at those folks that we filtered out and can page right through those very quickly. I like that.
All right.
That is nice.
Now,
and fast.
Yes. So for each person, I'm going to pick on Frank again. So if I'm on Frank's account and I want to move over to groups, we can edit just Frank's group. See how his name's up here on the top left? I can add him to Birmingham. Now I can go back a user or forward a user. Let's go to the next user. And let's add Helen to Birmingham as well. So you can see that you can manage individual items like groups or account information without moving around in different tabs. It lets you kind of toggle through them previously or forward to make sure that you can take care of what you need to quickly.
I am sure if we had cameras turned on for everyone on the call today and asked how many people would be happy to be able to manipulate multiple people without having to always go back to that big old user list and find the person again, and go back into it, they would all be nodding their heads going, yes, we
Yes.
don't want to do that. So.
Okay, let's progress a little bit. Let's look at assignments. Are we ready for that?
Sure.
Okay, we'll look at assignments. Now, our selections and all the sorting and the choices we've made for previous or next user impact what we see as soon as we click on the next tab as we move from left to right. So we started out on one of our new profiles, and in groups, we kind of went to the next individual, which would be Helen. And right away, I can naturally see Helen Smith's open assignments. This part is going to save you guys so much time. Here's why. If you add a new driver and you've got a bunch of group assignments out there, you add Helen to the company drivers group and Birmingham, she automatically got some of the older assignments that she doesn't need as a new user. I get that question all the time. This is one of my favorite options for her assignments. Right away, you can click a little drop down and you can see all of the assignment statuses that you might need to view. What has she completed? What's out there currently? What's a future assignment and what's overdue? Hit apply. I'll show you the exclusions in a second. Sorry, I got excited.
Well, that's okay.
Right now, all of her assignments are going to be current assignments, except for a couple of overdues that we're going to help clean up. We can see our states. You might have calls from your driver team saying, you know, I know I'm supposed to have an assignment, but I can't see it. Guess what? Under their profile, you can look them up. And if you sort their assignments by state, you can see active assignments and you can see drafted ones. Let's see
So
if we
that's
have
going to
any.
help me if I think I have assigned the training out and I built it and it's in
Yep.
draft mode, which means it never went out to Helen. I can now very easily eyeball that
Yes, you can.
without having to go to the assignments tab.
Yes. That'll save you a ton of time.
I'll take that all day, every day.
Good. Okay. So now let's look at this full list of assignments and let's keep Helen's hire date in mind. We've got a couple of assignments on there. One's a duplicate orientation assignment, one version of which she doesn't need. She's got some old assignments, a couple of draft ones. Let's get in there and let's clean up a few things. This orientation for new drivers, she doesn't need that. That's before her hire date. So we're just going to slide over here and exclude her. See this little include, exclude section? Now she's off that list. I'm going to do the same for October. I'm going to exclude her from that. Now, this is another duplicate that she didn't need. That happens sometimes if you're assigning things out. That's also one of our draft items. We're going to exclude her from that. There's a reefer alerts course from way back in December. She doesn't need that one, we know for sure. She also does not need this September one. We're going to exclude her from that as well. Okay, so we have kind of cleaned up her list here. Now for the assignment that is out there that she does need, I want to show you one more important thing. I'm going to slide to the right and I'm going to click this little details plus sign. You can see all the courses that are going to be in that assignment for her. So you can kind of review that. If you need to update anything, then you would go back to the full assignments list and make those adjustments inside the main assignment. But here you can see what's going to be on her plate for this month, and you can make sure that's exactly what she needs. So I know I've covered a lot in this section so far. I've covered the statuses that you can sort through, the states that you can sort through, active or draft assignments, and I've also kind of shown you how to include and exclude with these toggle buttons, and then I've opened up this details section. Do we have any questions about those 4 spots?
I think that if there is anybody on the call with us today that, you know, for example, you have someone who leaves your group because they think someplace else is better, they come back 6 months later, you reactivate them in the system, and then bam, they suddenly get hit with 6 months of training assignments that you assigned out. And you then have to go in or ask your CS person to turn those off for that. You can now do that yourself. I love that. I
you know,
love that.
15 seconds.
Yeah,
It's
because
awesome.
I mean, if you come back after a year and you're doing monthly training, the one thing you don't want to see is 12 waiting assignments for you, because it
Mhm.
may not be that that information is important anymore, or that you have already made some sort of training for that employee who is returning, that they don't need to get hit with it 2, 3 times. That can be frustrating. So I'm sure some of you have seen that happen when you've had someone come back and that training just pops, and now you can turn it off and they don't have to worry about it. So I love that.
I have a shout out. Is Tatiana on this call?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. I do not know.
Tatiana, if you're on here, please pop a message in chat. We did this just for you. All right. I'm going to kind of clear all my settings and go back to a user that has certificates, because that's what we need to talk about next.
I
Are
mean,
we
if
ready
it
to
makes
move
you
forward?
feel better, Charity, have been several amens coming in on chat that yes, they
Good.
know exactly what this problem solved, and yes, thank you for making this happen.
Okay,
So
good.
Tatiana, thank you for putting it into the universe. Other people are benefiting from
Round of
this.
applause. Okay. I'm going to go back to my main list here. I wouldn't normally need to do that, but I want to show you some examples of downloading multiple certificates. You're going to love this.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to clear everything out. I'm going to reset my tab here and go back to user management as a whole. And I'm going to look up someone specific. We haven't done that yet. I'm going to search on the right here for Mr. Steve Kessler. He's one of our wonderful employees, and he has some great examples of full completed training histories that we can look at. So again, I'm going to go straight to his little view eyeball on his account in the same row as his username.
All right, we had a question come in here from Donna. It's still about assignments, so navigate where you need to navigate. We'll chat about assigning courses through that assignments tab. That is not yet something that is available to do. That would still need to go through the assignments on the left side of the menu there. But I know we are working on some new assignment management tools. That's kind of our next big thing after we roll out user management, where we are working to have some quality of life adjustments on that side as well. So I haven't seen all that yet. So I will say that it is not yet in the system, but that might be in the works.
All right. Donna, does that answer your question? I know you're muted. If not, let us know. Sorry. I'm used to these live meetings, and I'm used to just asking everyone to unmute and just embracing the chaos. I love that. So I'm going to click on the certificates tab here for Steve's account. Here's why. We're going to be able to view all of Steve's completed certificates for individual videos and full assignments from here. So you're going to love being able to pull user certificates all from one spot.
So we can do, just to confirm that, we can do the assignment certificate that shows all the pieces of training content on it. And then we can do the certificates for each piece of content from the same place.
We can do all the certificates for the full assignment from here. I did misspeak a little bit. Our individual certificates are going to come for all of those individual classes from our reports tab, and I'll show you that after we look at Steve's classroom.
Okay.
My apologies.
That's okay.
All right, underneath our certificates tab, we're going to be able to download the certificate for any of these courses that he's finished with our little download button here in the center. You would also have the option to view the certificate. I'm going to open that up while that thinks. So we've got our fancy training certificate here. We can just view the certificate without downloading it. And of course, you can print or work through this section as needed. We're going to hit back here.
Okay.
Under content, we can view the details for exactly what course was completed. And again, we have the option to download the certificate from here or view it. Now, I promised you that we could download multiple certificates at once. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to check the boxes next to the courses that we want to download certificates for. And we're just going to move up and we're going to hit download selected. Now, a lot of times whenever I have administrators asking me for certificate advice, they often want to print these certificates off. I get asked, well, all these opened up, but they're all in separate windows. Can I print them all at once? That is an Adobe setting that you can talk through with your IT team or kind of look through online for some instructions. If I had my Adobe set to a really specific view, you'd be able to print all of these PDFs from one document. So that's an individual setting on everyone's individual devices. So if that's one of the
Gotcha.
questions that we get, talk through that with your IT team.
So we can't fix that on our end to make that happen, but we can facilitate it if you have the ability
Correct.
to do that. So awesome.
Any questions about that so far?
Did have a question come in about the previous tab from Tiffany, deactivating the old assignments. Can we still exclude new users when we create the assignment? Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. That setting has not changed on the ability to set up assignments. So you can still exclude users. That exclusion after the fact is basically to help clean up those situations of unintended consequences where, for whatever reason, you didn't have that setting in place because you didn't think you needed it at the time, and now have to go back and make sure that people that got impacted by it can be removed from that. So how do we put signatures on certificates? That is a great question. You have the ability to put 2 signatures on every certificate and your logo. So I would reach out to your client success rep about that, and they can make that happen.
Yes. To fully answer your question, all you're going to need to do is sign a big, nice white blank piece of paper in nice black Sharpie. Make sure it's nice and large and dark whenever you're actually performing that signature. Take a snapshot of it or scan it, send it to your CSR, and ask them to upload it with your formal title and your name underneath.
Yep, we can make that happen. You do not want to be signing all the certificates by yourself. Trust
You
me.
do not. Okay.
Jeff had a question, or excuse me, let me get to Randy's question first. Clarify assignment and content certificates, and Randy Mitchell is our IT director. So everyone, you are on the call today with our IT director. To clarify, assignment and content certificates can be viewed and downloaded from a certificates tab. So you can get both. I think it might just be because of how Steve's assignments are set up. I think these are one and done training items and not multiple training items. So I think that's why that's not populating like we usually do. So
got it. Thank you for the correction. All right. Any more questions about certificates before we look at Steve's classroom?
I think we're good right now.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to click on Steve's classroom tab and let's see what he's got out there right now.
All right.
Okay, so you're going to be able to view Steve Kessler's classroom just like you would be able to with that yellow classroom eyeball from the users tab that we're used to. This is going to look just the same. So you're going to be able to see what he's been assigned, what he's completed, any certificates that he's got for full assignments, and then resources that he has access to. So the layout's just a little bit different, but the features are exactly the same. Any questions about the classroom tab?
No. And again, with the classroom tab, just like the classroom view, this allows you to see what someone has, but you do not have the ability to take the training for an individual user. So
Correct.
that is not an ability or permission that you have. So we have to keep the integrity of the training material associated with that user. They got to do the work. All right, we had a question come in from Jeff. If you use a template named January monthly training, will that be on the certificate or the actual training title? And it will be both, actually, unless you change it from that template, because the templates preset a certain amount of information, but that is one of those things that you can manipulate after the fact if you need to. But that is, for example, you've got a couple different training items under that January monthly training. You will have certificates that can show each individual training item, and that will be the name of the module they completed. And then you can have the assignment, which will have that January monthly training name on the certificate.
That was a great question. Any others?
There was. Let me check here. I get my mouse onto the right screen. Are certificates saved indefinitely in the history? Currently, they are.
Yes.
Currently, we hold on to any training information that is done in our platform indefinitely. Our VP of operations likes to brag that we have the training record of the very first piece of training content we delivered back in 2010 to our very first student of our very first client. Now, we hold on to these things currently right now because we don't know when you might need them. We do have people come back years after the fact and say, hey, I need to get the training records for this driver who is no longer with us. That does happen, and that's why we hold on to that information. I can't say that that's what we'll do forever and ever, because forever is a very long time, as Prince told us. So, but for currently right now, we do maintain that information indefinitely.
All right. Actually, that ties in really, really well with our reports tab. Are we ready to talk about that?
Actually, we had one more question here on the classroom tab.
Mhm.
If you're trying to find out a question that a user is missing when they're taking their quiz attempts, is that something that you can pull up on the classroom tab to see their individual quizzes and what they're answering and getting right and wrong?
Let's talk through that. So if you have display incorrect summary results turned on for your assignments,
Okay.
your user can hit Start Class here. All right, this one he hasn't tried out yet.
Yeah, I don't know how many Steve
Yeah.
has actually made it all the way through to
Hasn't
the
done it.
quiz on.
Okay, so let's talk through this part. And I don't have a live example to show you right now, but if you were looking at the user classroom and your driver's logged in, say he has failed a quiz, he's going to have a Start Class button next to the course that he needs to retake. He'll hit Start Class just like I did. And then instead of a Not Attempted button, right here, he'll have a red Failed button. So if you have incorrect summary results turned on, that driver can slide over to the right and they can hit a blue View Incorrect Results button right here. So if they need to see the answers that they're missing to a set of questions, they can click on that incorrect results summary here. As far as I remember, you would not be able to view that as an administrator. If you need to look up, for example, animal avoidance, I'm going to slide over here real quick. I would go into the library and look for that title. I'm glad you asked this question. I've gotten it twice in the past day. And I'm going to sort and I'm going to look for animal avoidance course. Kind of a best practice for you as administrators, anytime that you're putting together a training plan, always make sure that you watch the video that you're assigning and look at the quiz and answers for everything as well. You can slide over to the right on this library tab after you look up your course name and hit view to see all the test questions and correct responses. So you'll see the full set there. If you are thinking of your user specifically and you're saying, let's see, Steve Kessler missed a question and I need to see which one he's missing. That'll tie in really well with our reports tab. I'll show you some of the options that we have there. I think I went the long way around for that question.
That's okay.
Thanks.
It's helpful.
Looking up his name here, and as soon as it comes up, we're going to go straight to reports.
A couple questions coming in while we're waiting for
Mhm.
that. If they fail the quiz, will they still need to watch the video again? We do have a setting in your company settings that does allow a user, if they are not successful after watching the video completely through all the way one time and taking the quiz, and if they're not successful on that quiz, you can set it up so they have the ability to then rewatch with a capability to fast forward through that content, with the goal being that they get to this section that they need to brush up on so they can take the quiz again. Again, this is something that is a not but default for everyone out there. We do make it available. It's under your settings section. To get that turned on, I would recommend talking to your client success rep. Same thing for those of you who are going incorrect summary results. What's that all about? Some of you may already have that turned off so that your users don't get to see the questions that they miss. They just have to take the quiz again and pay closer attention on the subsequent watch of the video, because you're not giving them that leg up to see, okay, you got these two wrong. Focus on that on your subsequent attempt. And there are arguments that can be made either way on those. We leave that up to the choice of the company to how you want to do that. We just want to make sure that, you know, we have that initial view, and then quiz is the same experience for everybody, because we cannot have people questioning, hey, did that guy watch that 8-minute video in 30 seconds? A plaintiff lawyer will look at that on a training report if you find yourself in an accident and go, exactly how much information did they learn of that 8-minute video in the 30 seconds that they watched it? We don't want you to have that awkward conversation. So everyone will always have to watch that video the first time and then take that quiz. And then after that, they'll have the ability to potentially fast forward. But again, that is up to each individual company. Some of you may not want to do that. We're fine with that. Some of you may want to do that because you also pay extra for time people spend studying and you want to minimize the amount of retakes. I understand that as well. That is certainly your choice, and we'll support your choice. But that's how that's broken out right now. So
Definitely.
Hope that wasn't too confusing.
All right, let's talk about reports. And this will kind of help demonstrate the answer to that question best, I think. So under our reports tab, now we have the option to pull all of our report types, our content completions for the individual videos, PDFs, or links that are uploaded on your site, their BI user history, BI assignment status, BI assignment detail, and BI user license. I'm going to work down this list, but when we get to BI user history, we'll answer your question about incorrect responses, okay? If we're pulling a BI user content completed report, this is going to load up all of the individual videos, PDFs, or like YouTube links or any other custom content you've uploaded. So you can see right away that we've got a username column. You should be very familiar with this layout. All the content that's been completed is going to be shown here with individual video titles, PDF titles, or custom content titles like this one. You'll see the passing grade, number of attempts, the status. These are always going to be complete since we're looking at the content completed report. We'll see the completion date with the timestamp, how long he spent on it, the content certificate. So for the individual video, PDF, or piece of custom content that's uploaded, we can still click the little certificate links that we're accustomed to seeing. Those are just the same from our BI reports. You can also view the test detail from here, but these are going to be for completed and past assignments. So you can click the little link underneath test detail.
So this will show once they get that passing score, it's
Yes.
not going to show their previous attempts where they were not successful.
And we'll talk about the answer to that question in just a moment. While that loads up, please note that you can also export this report by hovering over the top right corner and finding more options, export data, and then summarize data, and then export like you normally do. You also have the option to filter this report by date or content title. So you could filter this by the past couple of days, or you could set it for a specific date range with a start and end date. You can also filter this by different titles that are out there. So if you needed to see all of the distracted driving courses that he's taken, you could do that. There we go. And we could filter just for those titles. So for example, if you're looking for completed hazmat courses, you could pull up this report and search for hazmat or hazardous or hazard and pull up those specific certificates right away, no matter when they were run, as long as your date range is cleared.
Excellent.
So let's move on to our BI user history report. This is the one that you guys were really interested in because it's going to allow you to see exactly what your user has been doing in the website.
This is my favorite one of all the reports. I love the things that we are able to show folks with this.
Yes, you're able to do a lot of things with this report. This is one of our great troubleshooting reports. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So this is going to show every interaction that Steve has had with the website. Any logins. He's got lots of logins. All right. Anytime you see content started, that means he is watching a video or opening up a PDF. If you see content viewed, that means he's accessed the quiz. If you see complete, that's when you're going to start seeing a content certificate next to things. So I'm going to look at this grade column here and let's see if we can find
an incomplete quiz.
Yes, or a failed quiz. Might be easier if I sort this. There we go. I'll sort it one more time.
Steve is a pretty good student, so he usually is 100% all or nothing kind of guy. So.
Oh, there's one. There, he made a 66 on changing lanes. So I'm going to highlight that one. Here we go.
You just did it by clicking on it?
Yes.
Okay.
So I can highlight that title by clicking on it, and then I can slide to the right with my little scroll bar. And right under the test detail column, here we are. We can click on that link and we'll see exactly what he responded to on those questions. And if he missed any, you're going to be able to see that. As
it's thinking, we've got a couple more questions that have come through. Has the feature enhancement to remind users about assignments been added to this version? The notification settings are still part of the assignment process and the template process, allowing users to know 7 days out that they have content due, provided you have given them at least 7 days to complete said training. And then the notifications, if they have an overdue assignment, can also be turned on as well. The notification settings, we don't have those set by default to go out to everyone. You kind of have to designate who you want to receive information, because if we turn them all on, that means every time you as an administrator assign out training, you're going to be notified that there's new training for a user, and you already know that because you assigned the training to begin with. So we do make that something that you can turn on and then tweak how you want that to work, but it is still available to notify 7 days out and then once something becomes overdue. Someone has also let us know that they have the giant Connect 4 that you have behind you in your office, Charity. They have the same thing in their office. So
Wonderful.
we didn't know if anybody would notice, but we're glad you did. So
I realized that was in the background this morning. Well, you know what? It lets them know that we're fun. Now we have access to Steve's test and answer summary for this assignment. It was the changing lane videos that he took back in July. So we can see that he missed question 1. He chose false on this quiz question. And he also missed question 3 and question 4. So you as the administrator can access this information in full, and you can see exactly what he's missing. You might coach him a little bit verbally on question 1 and say, well, let's talk through this, discuss some scenarios. You might talk through question 3 and 4 with him as well and say, well, let's really think about this. If you are in this environment and you're changing lanes, what do you need to be aware of? What are you thinking ahead about and behind and to the left and right about? So these items are going to help you coach them. You can always print this if you need to walk away from your desk and do that, maybe if you're going out to the yard or something. Does that answer your question better?
I like that. I like that because it presents a coaching opportunity. The goal there is not to necessarily provide the driver the correct answer, but to walk them through the process to make the correct assumption off of the information provided, because that means that you can come back and go, hey, look, we provided this coaching opportunity to this driver at this time. I visited with them by the phone. We walked through the information that they missed. They ascertained why their answers were incorrect. And that makes you look better as the administrator of training as well, not just that this person was able to take then a passing quiz. It means that the help that you provided was not of the open book variety. So
definitely. All right. Now I won't go through all of them because we are running shorter on time, but you still have access to all of the regular reports that you might pull for a user. Their BI assignment status report for just them.
Can I bring up something about the history report real fast?
Yes, go ahead.
I love the history report for you all because it lets you know when people try to log in and are not successful. All of us have dealt with users said, hey, I tried to log in and it wouldn't let me in. We record all of that. So you can actually see when someone is attempting to log into the system and they're not successful. You can see what kind of device they are using. If they're using our mobile app, you can see their IP address. You can obviously the time that they are studying, which is crucial because if you know they're supposed to be underway at a certain period of time in a truck and it shows that they've got a video running on their smartphone, that is a no-no that needs to be addressed, obviously. We can see what kind of web browser they're using, which is super helpful because Randy Mitchell can back me up on this, our IT director. We're supporting over 20 different versions of Google Chrome at any given time because of the devices that users have. They are not all iPhone 13s, and not everybody is updating their devices in a timely manner. And so we're having to support versions of Google Chrome that are potentially 4 or 5 years old because that is how your user is coming to us. But we can see that information, and it means if my CS rep looks at that, they can go, hey, you're working an older version of Chrome. That's probably what's causing the error. Let's go ahead and get that updated for you. And then they can walk them through that update process.
Definitely. And to orient you, thank you for that reminder. You would just select that BI user history report and then make sure that you navigate all the way to the right in that report. Then you can see what device they're logging in with and what browser version they've got. If they're using the mobile app, you'll see that instead.
So
great point. Okay. Under our individual reports, you might often need to pull a list of all the assignments that a driver has completed, might have currently posted, or might be overdue on. You can now do that by the individual without a bunch of filters. This report is automatically going to set to the current month. So right now it's going to show January. If you hit this little scrub button right here to clear selections, you're automatically going to see all of the assignments out there. And it's going to stack up more as it catches up to me.
I like that scrub button. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to put in the specific dates that Steve had training for.
Yes, automatically. So this is going to scrub it for all time.
That's a joy.
Now, please note that here draft assignments will not show up like they would in the user assignments tab that we looked at earlier. So here, as long as they are published and they're an active assignment that has been completed, is current, or is overdue, that will show here in your reports. So you can export this or pull certificates the old way if you need to. We've also got our other report options. If Steve had license information entered, which we'll check in a second, he would be able to see that license information for him along with the expiration date and the status of it. If it was expired, it'll be marked expired. Any questions about reports within a user?
I've got a couple here that I'll go through. When running reports, say for an entire group, before we would have to run two reports, the legacy report and a general report. And that legacy report, for those of you who aren't familiar with that, that was for training that occurred in the previous version of our platform, what we informally call I2. Everyone right now is an I3. And that was just because being a different system, the training information was warehoused in a different area. It's still accessible. It's just a manual process to get that out of there. Is there just one report that we can run that would combine those two? And in addition, the report layouts are not the same, so they can't combine. It must be checked individually. Again, that's that challenge with that older legacy system that we were working off of in the new version. We don't currently have, but I can check with Randy Mitchell on that if there's going to be steps taken to consolidate those into a more user-friendly report for you all. And see what we're doing there. But I know that some of the folks we had in the older version of the platform have a ton of training information in there, so it can be sometimes challenging. So Randy Mitchell, fortunately, says it with a smiley face, but he says that that currently is not on the docket of things that they're working on for our development to consolidate the legacy report alongside the new general report. So apologize for that. Let's see here. Well, I've had drivers complain that they watch the video, but then they can't access the test for some reason. Will the report show content viewed or any other indication supporting their claim?
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll go back to the BI user history report here. So if that's happening, what we found most often is there's a cookie that's stuck somewhere and we need to clear that user's browsing history or install the mobile app to get around that. Or the user's device text size is quite large. It might be set to bold or to very, very large text so they can see their text messages and move around on that phone or tablet very easily. We have handouts that we can send to you that we're working on to kind of help you troubleshoot those things, but we always recommend that if your driver cannot see their questions or a video is not playing or something is just not working, have them call our CSR helpline at 877-792-3866, extension 300. For help. We want to work with them one-on-one because each device is different. Maybe there's a Wi-Fi issue. Maybe we need to clear something out. Maybe we need to just help them move around a little bit better. That's something that we do all day long, and that's best done one-on-one with us so that we can take care of them and fix it for you.
Yes, you all do not want to have to spend your day worrying about those tech questions. That is why we are here. So please, please, please have them call us and then we can figure out what's going on, because it could be something as simple as clearing out their internet browser cache, updating a browser. We don't necessarily have to move heaven and earth. So, but please let us know. All right, here, let's see. Can you still pull a group report to show who completed their monthly training on time, what date and time completed? Yep, that still exists on the reports tab.
Yep. Oh, let me clear that up. This is a user-specific report. If you need a group report, go to the standard reports tab.
Yep, that still exists. Let's see what else we got here coming in. Everyone also, I want to make mention that we're going to stay on the line with you guys. I know we said this was going to run to 11, but we're having some great questions come in and we want to make sure that you get the answers. So we're going to be continuing on beyond 11 a.m. I understand some of you may have to drop off because this was the amount of time you had budgeted, but we're going to keep going until we're able to show all this functionality. If you have to leave, you will get the replay of what we're talking about. So if you're not able to see every single tab, because we've got a couple more here we want to go through before we end, you will get this. So do we have anyone that speaks Spanish at that extension 300, Charity?
We do have one that does speak Spanish, but we're always hoping to add more to that list. So if we don't have her available to speak with your driver directly, we have genuinely started using Google Translate and working through it as best we can, as politely as we can. That is a place that we want to grow in.
Does anyone speak French for our folks north of the border?
No, they do not. But again, that is a definitely an earmarked item. If someone that interviews with us speaks French or Spanish, that's wonderful.
Excellent. All right, here. Okay.
All right. I'm going to move forward to addresses here on Steve's account. If I
Lydia would like us to remind everyone that we do actually have someone on staff that can speak Mandarin if you do have a native speaker of that. So we have Spanish, we have Mandarin, we would love to have French, but there we are.
All right, I'm going to slide over to the addresses.
One more question.
No, okay.
Someone asked if the reports are updated in real time.
Great question. So if you wanted to see, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy, the content completions in real time. Again, Randy, stop me if this is not tied to the BI assignment status complete report. I believe it is. So the BI user content completed report would show you that snapshot. Now, I think there's kind of like two parts to this question. If you're looking at the content completed up to the minute, you can see that through this report. If you're looking for updates to completions and you're running something like a status or a detail report, please note that those reports kind of cycle through at the top of every hour and those refresh. So in about 30-minute increments, you're going to see that information updated.
Randy has confirmed you are correct that
Wonderful.
The only two reports that are not real time are the assignment status and assignment detail reports. And you can tell that very easily because at the bottom of those reports, there is a timestamp. So it will let you know when it was last updated. If you are looking at a report that does not have a timestamp, that means it is updated in real time.
Perfect. That's a great cue for us. So we'll just double check here. And wonderful, this one does not have a timestamp in the bottom right-hand corner, so we're good. Yep, this one's up to the minute. Does that answer your question?
I think we're good.
Okay.
We did have a question. Do we have any hearing impaired options for folks that call through to our customer or client success line?
Yes, we do. If you need a printout of the transcript of a video that's been uploaded that's Infinit-I content, what you can do is you can ask your CSR for a transcript and our video production team will facilitate that document being sent to you. That's something that we try to implement and keep a close eye on if anyone on your team is hearing impaired. So again, request the transcript through your CSR.
Awesome. Awesome. I think we're good on questions right now.
Okay, let's move forward to addresses. All right, so Steve does not have an address listed on his account. Let's kind of pick on him and add one. I'm going to click Add Address. And our address information fields have not changed, but we are going to have required fields for addresses if you choose to use this, this section. So if we put in 1, 2, 3, 4.
So addresses are not mandatory to set up a user, but if you use addresses or would like to take advantage of that, there are a couple of things we have to have.
So we'll fill out the traditional address format here, and I don't know any Arizona zip codes. 5 digits, there we go. We'll make that his home address, and he's in the United States. We also have the Canadian addresses enabled for this site here. We'll make that his primary address and hit save. So now he's got an address in there. So if I'm on Steve's account and I click on addresses, and this one we're going to pretend was already there, you could delete it, or you can hit edit here. and update that.
Someone asked why you would have this functionality. Again, this is for those folks that use this as kind of a low-level employee management system, just like they keep track of hire date and birth date. It's just
Yes.
another piece of information people asked if they could include in the system so they could warehouse that all in one place. It is not required to have a user in the system. It is merely there as kind of gravy on the mashed potatoes, as it were.
So always keep in mind in this website, we service clients all the way from 10 driver fleets all the way up to thousands of drivers in their fleet. So keep in mind that some features that might seem really simple and basic might be really important to those small companies. They might really need that information captured somewhere. If you don't, that's okay. Move past that section.
Yeah, sometimes folks, in addition to wearing the safety hat, and some of you probably are shaking your heads, you get to wear the hiring hat and the HR hat and the operations hat. And this helps the HR hat people with some additional details they can keep track of easily.
Yes, if you need to delete this address, just hit this little trash can here.
Good question. Does it actually delete the address or just deactivate it, hide it? It just hides that information. We don't delete anything out of our system. Again, that goes back to the integrity of what we record. That's the same reason that we don't allow, and we do get requests of people come back and say, hey, can you delete that training out from that individual? I can't. I can't because I need to make sure that if you have to put this training report in front of a lawyer that you can say, and we can say that everything it shows was legitimately completed, or in the case of some drivers, not completed, because the moment they question whether that information has been tampered with or edited after the fact, that calls into question everything that you're doing in the system. And we are very proud of the integrity of what we do, and we're not going to allow that to happen. We deactivate it so you can hide it and it doesn't show up in your active information, but we don't delete it. We save it all. How do you get it back if you need it, if it's deactivated?
For addresses? That is a good question.
That's
Randy,
a good question.
I don't know the answer to that one myself, but I can check and email you. Who asked that one?
That was from Heather LaFoy. I hadn't had anyone ask me that either.
I haven't either.
I'm flummoxed. Oh, you know what we didn't show on the main page yet? We did not show how you can deactivate users super fast.
Correct. Do you want us to focus on licenses first?
Oh, sure, we can do that.
Okay.
Save the best for last.
We're going to slide over to licenses. Steve has had some licenses added to his account over time: annual reviews, commercial driver's license, and his DOT physical. One of the things that we've been asked before is, well, can I just add something else in? Absolutely. You can hit add license here, and your license type drop-downs will match what is turned on for your website. So if you need additional web license types created or turned on for your site, just ask your CSR. For now, we're going to add a hazmat certification. Now for this, we're not going to add a license number for today, but we are going to put an expiration date, and that's going to be, let's see. I can't, off the top of my head, think of how many characters a hazmat endorsement, if any, should have.
Oh, I think you can just make it up.
All right. We'll do that.
The system we're working on today isn't attached to anybody real, so it's all good.
All right. So our hazmat certification now shows underneath Steve's account. If we have done his annual review and we need to update the date that it expires on, notice that it's expired here. We can hit edit, and right away we can just update the date. It doesn't open or take us anywhere else. It just populates up here with the fields that we can edit, and we can make this 10/15/2022. We know we did that on that day because we've got a record of it, and that's updated for you.
So that's new, because in the old version, it was treated as kind of an assignment. Once it hit its expiration date, you had to open up then a new assignment with that reminder on there.
Yes.
So that's actually allows you to just have one CDL notifier for a driver, and then all you have to do is update the date.
Yes.
I like that.
Ruben Lopez, if you're on this call, that was for you. And everyone else, of course, but that was for you.
You are welcome, Ruben.
All right. Underneath our licenses here, we can always deactivate or drop in the background, as before. Any of these licenses, if we needed to take off this annual reviews option, we could hit deactivate there. Heather, I can ask if it works the same if we hit that deactivate button where that information is stored if we need to retrieve it, okay?
Randy said that for things like that, it just needs to be shooting an email to your client success rep who can let IT know it needs to be turned back on or reactivated. So,
Thank you, Randy. Okay, that's the nuts and bolts of licenses. Any questions there?
now these licenses, these are set up and can change over time. So if someone says, hey, we're now doing business in ports, we're doing intermodal, I need to have a TWIC card on here, they can add TWIC to their organization and then it will show up as an option, right?
Yes, it will. Your CSR can
Awesome.
help you with that.
Awesome. Love it.
All right. So let's go back to the
Oh,
main.
can you update multiple drivers' annual reviews at once?
Oh, yes. Well, you can toggle between them.
Yeah,
So
you can tab between them. So if you're on that one page, there we go. And then just go next user, next user, next user.
And most
Boom.
of these might not have it, but we'll go to some that do.
But yeah, you can just toggle to the right person, click update, save, click edit, save, and you're rocking and rolling. Can you add a custom license type? Yes, you can. Just need to get with your client success rep and they'll help you build that out under your settings. And then once it's in your settings, it'll be on that drop down. Are drivers notified before their licenses expire? Yes, or they can be. Do you want to go through that, Charity?
We do not have license expiration notifications as far as I'm aware. However, if we were looking at Steve's classroom, I'm going to go back to my users tab here and reset. And he had an expired license that was showing up. He would be able to see that in his classroom whenever it's expired. So I'm going to go straight to his classroom and view that as he can. Notice this CDL and DOT physical. Your drivers can see that information in their classrooms. So if they're overdue, they can see that.
And there's not notifications for admins because that is not technically a training item, like assigning out safety training or custom training that you do in the platform.
To kind of check and update that information, we encourage you to use the BI user license report. And there's a way that you can sort and filter that for anything that's expiring in the next 90 days with Excel, anything that's already expired. You can kind of work through that in sections as you need to and update that information.
Ooh, can we show people my favorite thing now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. All right,
Okay.
So I love this to set the stage. How many of you have had to deactivate more than one person at a time and you've had to log in to every single person one at a time to deactivate them and it caused you physical pain and hurt your heart and you lost your will to live, especially if you had to do like more than 5 at a time? You're gonna like this.
You are. Okay, I'm going to inactivate a few pretend users that I made before this call. So I'm going to find their names.
All right, somebody timer.
Oh. All right, we're going to go to the last name, J. So I'm just going to sort that alphabetically there. All right, so I'm going to inactivate Kevin James here. He's right here. Hit that little trash can to mark him inactive and drop him in the background. I'm also going to do Tim Jones. Done.
Boom, it's done.
If I've accidentally hit that little red trash can and marked him inactive, I can always go straight to my inactive status and hit apply. And I'll be able to see everyone that's in there. So I could find Tim Jones's account quickly, edit him, and make him active again. So you would have to hit edit to reactivate him, but to make him inactive, you can just hit that little red trash can and mark him off and move him into the background.
John Matthew timed you. He said it took you 16 seconds to do that. So, so no more edit key if you are deactivating. If you are reactivating, you would still need to do the similar process, but usually your deactivates versus your reactivates, there's definitely more deactivates than reactivates. So, and then actually, Randy reminds us if we just switch the status to inactive users, we should have our button back.
Let's see.
Randy? Okay, Randy, you promised we'd have a button there. So everyone heard you on the call today.
Oh,
oh Randy says, sorry, it's coming soon. Previews,
okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to do that from that menu. So,
Please bear in mind that everyone on this call has been testing this website thoroughly, so we might be thinking of some features that are, future features as we're talking through things. So please bear with us.
Yeah, Randy Mitchell does usually live 2 updates ahead of the rest of us in
Yes.
terms of this technology. So, a couple other questions that we have coming in here. Can you pull an expiration report for all drivers at once?
For licenses
For
or?
licenses, I'm assuming that's what
Yes.
that means. That's the BI user license report on
It's
the
right here.
report menu item.
Yes, and anyone with a license in this site is automatically going to show up. All the licenses for all usernames are going to populate in this report automatically. So if you just need the full list of everything that everyone's got, right away it's going to be on your report, and you'll just need to export that information. I've zoomed in, so my little buttons here are a little
Awesome.
misbehaving. What do we have next?
I think that is the end of the questions, but we do have a couple of things that we need to talk about, you and me.
Yes, we do.
So let me see if I can.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yes, please. And
Okay.
then let me see if I can take back control and get the remaining slides on the screen. So, because we have 2 different things that we want to talk about with you all. The Infinit-I Business Review. Did you want to bring people up to speed on what that is, Charity?
I do. I would assume quite a few folks on this call, if you're one of my clients, you have definitely met for a quarterly business review. That's something that we want to start doing with each of our clients once a quarter. That's something that is free. It's part of your contract. And all it is, we sit down and we look at a chart together. Look at all the assignments that have been posted in one quarter, all of the pieces of content that have been posted in one quarter. We also look at how your users are doing out of all of those assignments. Are they completing a bunch of them? Are there a bunch that are overdue or current that might need followed up on? Are there any users in the site that might need inactivated? We look at that as well. We look at user participation. So if we're looking at a BI user list, for example, how often are your users logging in? How often are they starting to view a video or attempt a quiz or pass a specific test? We look at all of those things once with the last interaction for each user, and then we calculate the participation that way. It's not completions, but it shows you how involved people are. Then after we talk through all of those items, we look at your CSA scores that are publicly available through the FMCSA. What we do is we upload your DOT number into that report. If you have several, let your CSR know, and we'll talk through some options for that. But we upload your primary DOT number in that report at the bottom. And what we do is we talk through some options for posting either proactive or reactive training for those items. So for example, if your driving team is struggling with vehicle maintenance, you and your CSR could talk through some training plan options for example, January, February, and March to address those issues and kind of improve those scores over time. So again, it's a 90-day snapshot. That's something that is up to the day that you do that meeting. So if you need to view a greater time range, talk to your CSR. The whole idea is to make sure that you're getting, one, your money's worth in the site. Everything is working smoothly. You have a chance to talk through any problems with your CSR, and you get to improve your CSA scores and your completion rates across the board. Those are things that if we have those conversations frequently and naturally, they're going to improve not only in the short term, but in the long term. So we'd love to see you participate in those with us. They take max 30 minutes. I've seen them as short as 12 minutes. If there's not a lot to talk about, things are nice and clean. If there's a lot of details that need cleaned up or talked through, we might take as many as 45. That's kind of dependent on the website itself.
I like these for you all because everyone is always looking for that proof of the good things that you're doing with your safety program. And this is a great way to tabulate that information over the course of a year to show the improvements that you're making, so that when it comes time to have that discussion with your management team about, hey, is this working? Is this making sense? You have actual data you can put in front of them and show, this is what our participation rate, this is how much training that we've done in a year, this is how many of our drivers are participating in this, so that you actually have those numbers that you can tell your story with about all the good work that you're doing. Similarly, if you're having challenges with your program, it's a great opportunity to do some course correction and try some new things to help boost participation and getting more training out there. So I love these ideas. let's go ahead and fire off the poll question. If you would like to be contacted about setting up a business review, and again, this is no cost associated with this. This is just part of what we do to support your organization. Let us know. And just go ahead and answer the question on the screen there. And then the other thing I want to talk about very briefly is an additional offer that we have for everyone on the call. We have a sister company called BetterTruckDrivingJobs.com, and they are making available a free year of job postings on the BetterTruckDrivingJobs.com website for anyone that would like to take advantage of that. So if you would like to get more details about that information, you can respond to that second question that's up on the polls right now. And I love this because when you have the ability to test your recruiting message, you can actually do that through a site like BetterTruckDrivingJobs.com and see what language you have out there to recruit with. What are people responding to? So you can see what's working, what's not working, what you can put more of your efforts behind, and what maybe you can pull back because it's not resonating. But it's a great way to test out some different recruiting messages and see what's going to get people to pay attention to your organization and want to join you. So go ahead and answer those, and we will follow up after this. Boom, boom, boom. You said quarterly, but are there date ranges to expect these reviews? It's actually dependent on your schedule. It's what you need us to do.
Yes, I can answer that. So that is also impacted by your CSR schedule as well. We will obviously do our best to accommodate you, but we try to kind of stagger out those meetings just a little bit, because if we're doing a quarterly meeting with every single client in the first week of the first quarter of the year, that might get a little bit hectic. So we need time to answer questions on those calls and also do the follow-up work for each of those items. So we do try to stagger them. They won't be always exactly at the beginning or end of every quarter. So let's talk through the timing for each individual client as needed, okay?
Excellent. And someone had a question for me. Craig, were you raised in West Virginia? I was not. I did go to college there, though. I'm a proud Mountaineer graduate. Go Ears. I lived in Morgantown for several years. It's a beautiful state. Was actually just talking with a coworker of ours about how her next road trip in her Jeep needs to be heading that way. So awesome. All right. Well, I think our questions are good to go. We appreciate all of you that have joined us today. We know it's a ton of information. Again, we're going to get that replay out to you so you can review it, or if you need to share it with other people on your team. Obviously, if you have any questions, your client success representatives are trained up on this new version as well and can absolutely assist you with any challenges that you may have. But Charity, thank you so much for being here and taking the time today. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we've got a couple more things. I know you and I will be talking about in webinars in the hopper that are coming up in March and so forth for some new functionality. For those of you out there on the call, thank you again. Charity, do you have any final words for our folks?
Yes, I do. We did our best to get this webinar information out to everyone that we could think of, and we tried to get everyone to sign up. I want to just quickly say that we want to keep communicating like this. We want to keep hosting webinars for new features. If we have new features that are launching, you're going to get an email and a call about it. Not to, flood you with information, but to make sure that you are prepared for those changes and that you have time to ask questions. So we love having these forums. Please invite your friends. And we'd love to see you at the next one.
Excellent. All right. Well, everyone, be safe out there. We appreciate you, and we'll be talking again with you very, very soon. Thanks, everybody.